Welcome! This video is part of a series dedicated to UserLock SSO. I'm Kate Fleming, Product Manager at IS Decisions, and in this video I'll show you how to activate UserLock SSO from Microsoft 365. On the left side of the screen you can see the test environment with 5 machines, 1 domain controller, 1 UserLock server, 1 UserLock SSO server, and 1 Windows 10 workstation, which will be used to show connections as an end user. You can also see 1 SSO backup server, which we'll show in another video. You do not need to install SSO on a different server than the one where you've installed UserLock. However, it is recommended as it allows you to separate the roles of each server and reduces risk of losing all functionalities in case of a crash. Let's first go to a protected account to a user named Aria, who has MFA activated for all workstation and server connections. It's important to know that for SaaS sessions, MFA settings are configured through the server connections. So now, on the SSO server, I can launch the UserLock installation package. At this point, you have to select Custom Installation to install the necessary files for SSO, since by default they are not active. So I'll disable the UserLock service since it's already installed on another machine. And I can also disable the web applications. Now that the installation is finished, I can launch the UserLock console. Connect to the UserLock server, and then navigate to the SSO configuration page. On the left of the screen, you can see here the requirements for activating SSO. So first of all, you need an operating system that uses Windows Server 2012 R2 or more recent with a permanent internet connection. You also need a domain name with a valid SSL certificate and DNS records configured properly both internally and externally. All this ensures smooth communication between the SaaS application and UserLock SSO. Before I can configure the SSO settings, I need to install the SSL certificate on the machine. So here's my certificate. It's a Wizard certificate, and I'll install it on the store of my machine. Here you mark the key as exportable. We will need it later when we configure the SSO backup servers. So now that I've successfully imported my SSL certificate, it appears here in the drop-down menu and I can select it. I can also change the host name and port to get the URL of my identity provider. The last item to configure is the lifetime of the SAML certificate. Notice that the SAML certificate is different from the SSL certificate. The SSL certificate is used to protect the communication between the SaaS application and the identity provider. The SAML certificate, on the other hand, is a key component of the SAML protocol that establishes the trusted relationship between the SaaS application and the identity provider, in this case Microsoft 365 and SSO. Be careful to keep the certificate secret, because if a malicious user gets their hands on it, they could forge SAML assertions that they could use to connect to the SaaS application without going through the identity provider that has been chosen. For the purpose of this demo, I'll put a lifetime of 6 months. Now I can activate the functionality. Several operations are now implemented at the system and UserLock level. I can then add the SSO URL in the intranet zone to facilitate configuration. And now that all my settings are in place, I can configure my first SaaS application, in this case, Microsoft 365. The configuration of a SaaS application requires 2 steps. First, the configuration in UserLock to ensure reception of authentication requests. And second, the configuration in the application to redirect these requests to UserLock SSO with the previously configured URL. Depending on the SaaS application, these steps may be in a different order, but they are both always necessary. In the case of Microsoft 365, we have a third step because Azure AD, which is behind Microsoft 365, requires additional properties that need to be synchronized between the local Active Directory and Azure AD. There are two ways we can do this. One, Azure AD Connect, which is used in this example, since Azure AD Connect is installed on a domain controller. Or PowerShell with some scripts that allow us to perform the synchronization on a case-by-case basis. Now let's come back to the first step, configuration on the side of UserLock SSO. We add the Microsoft application, as it appears in the list of supported applications with an inactive status. At this point, it is necessary to restart the service again so the application has an active status. If you have several SaaS applications to configure, you can configure them all before restarting the service. Now I can see my application has an active status. Let's move on to the second step, configuration on the Microsoft 365 side. For this, we have developed a dedicated tool for this task. Normally, the configuration of the federation on the Microsoft 365 side is done with PowerShell. But with this tool, we'll be able to perform this configuration much more easily. It is necessary to connect with an Azure AD administrator account. And in the drop-down list of Azure AD domains, I can select the one that I want to federate. So by default, the authentication type is managed. That's to say it's classic email password authentication. To federate, you just have to click this button. The tool will retrieve the necessary information from the SSO service in order to federate the domain. So now SSO is configured on the Microsoft side as well. Now we can test by connecting to Microsoft 365. So we're on a Windows 10 workstation with a session opened by Aria, and we're going to proceed to log in to Microsoft 365. I enter the user's email, and here the first difference you can see is that Microsoft does not ask for a password. We are redirected to UserLock SSO. This is the URL that I specified earlier during the configuration, and here I'm redirected directly to an MFA page because I added the SSO URL in the intranet zone so that this URL is a trusted URL. So there is no need to verify Aria's Active Directory credentials again. This is how it works with Edge and Chrome. Firefox is slightly different. Now for this example, I will copy the MFA code from my Authenticator app, and the session is open for Aria. If we go back to the SSO server at the dashboard level, we'll be able to see that there is a login at 7:07. If Aria logs out, at the dashboard level, we will also see the log off. And that concludes the SSO activation procedure. Thank you for watching this video. I encourage you to download UserLock from our site to conduct your own tests with this feature. Thank you.